almost ready?
Should be, hopefully.
Because we're live on YouTube. So, hi, Dusky. All right. And
Hi, Dusky.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Go Hunt, the preferred hunting and outdoors podcast of former President Chester Alan Arthur. As stipulated under contract, we have Mike Gonsalves waiting to wash Dove off his body. Like the soap. Sam Alexander, who just can't bear it. Vince H., who is feeling fishy and not wearing pants. Nice. And I am Dave Packard, who is dragging ass. On this episode, we are talking about catfishing, beaver benders, and a variety of leftovers.
So
I made it almost all the way through that without stuttering.
you did almost. Good
So
job.
proud of you.
Pert
So-
near.
All I can assume is Mike went outside and caught a dove and he'd been rubbing it in his armpits.
I thought that was soap.
That's what he said.
First
Country
one, then
folk
the
just-
other,
just
in an
can't
order
get
that
it.
would surprise you.
I thought this was
Moving
soap.
on.
Gross.
Oh, the chocolate was involved too.
Okay. I'm just going to end
Oh, I
this one
forgot
now.
about the chocolate.
Hey, Vince, you want to do the
It's
outro?
starting over. So anyway, support the sport. If you had an aneurysm in the last 5 minutes, it had nothing to do with us.
Not at all.
Take
Please don't blame me.
All right. So, what's up? Why are
Hi,
you
guys.
dragging ass? Why are you not wearing pants?
Wait, why are
I
you
don't
not wearing
blame him
pants
for
and
not wearing pants.
Because I don't have to.
Exactly. It's an audio podcast.
And it's
We're
hot in my
live.
closet.
but if you
But-
stand up,
I've been getting. Have you seen anything yet?
Vince stands up and we're kicked off YouTube.
Well, that'd be a good way to do it. We've been waiting for I mean, I could grab this behind me. Ooh. I don't want to test it right now.
Show title.
I wonder if I get kicked off YouTube by just placing my hands in the proximity of the rifle behind me to where it looks like I'm holding a tiny rifle.
Let's find out.
Ooh.
So if I do the finger bit through the hole in my drawers, think we can get kicked off YouTube?
There's only I'm a I'm commenting on that one. And the comment somebody approves of his not wearing pants, and I'm not touching that.
I think she was approving of the finger bit, but let's move on.
Yeah.
Far away,
That has
please.
bad- that has bad implications too.
Also,
So-
I think your rifle on your back wall back there, I think YouTube might misconstrue as a musket. It's very
Close enough.
musket-esque.
Close enough. It's got a barrel jacket.
They must get it right.
Oh
So,
my God. How did they let you come on their podcast?
I don't know.
Oh,
It was
yes,
such a
about
mistake.
that.
Fuck.
Yeah, you were cheating on us last night. What's the dealio, huh? Got new
So,
boyfriends?
Yeah, we had two new
Look, they
boyfriends
just
that
got-
offered us.
they got a better
new
car.
job. Yeah, their rigs are cooler.
Hey, Dave, I think we should dump these two. We
I
should
think
do a
that-
podcast divorce.
Mike has actually stopped calling his Prado a truck and is now calling it a rig after last night.
It's still a truck.
Well, first
It's
of all,
fucking
context.
not.
Somebody put context to this because I don't know what's going on anymore.
Vince, do that because Mike will take half a year.
That's
You're
fair.
muted.
Vince
There
mutes
we go.
himself to start.
No, it just kicked me off my mic again. So
well,
that
you're
might
on the right
happen
mic.
periodically. What?
Nope, now you're on the wrong mic.
No, he's good. I thought he was good.
No, he's off again.
Yep.
Well, you two went on the off-roading podcast,
Yes, we did. Yeah,
Which
we
is
went
also
on the off-road.
tomorrow. which is also
They wanted to-
Farm Trade Radio Network.
It is indeed. Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, they were gracious enough to invite us on, and I'm not sure how, but they said they were going to invite us back. But this may be like we're gonna call you, but not call you the night afterward or the day after. Anyway,
Did they leave their purse in your truck, or were they very careful about getting it out?
they actually wouldn't ride in it.
Oh, That's not
So there was no opportunity to like put a tracker in their purse.
there.
Anyway, so yeah, we talked about setting up. We talked about setting up off-road or setting up hunting rigs, setting up hunting gear, getting ready for hunting season, the different types of hunting we do. And
Mike?
we also talked about Dr. Pepper for about 20 minutes.
One of their questions was, "What's your favorite kind of tire?" And what did you say?
Rubber ones.
You went on an off-road podcast and you couldn't look up a tire.
He's like,
A tire. You can walk outside and be like, "Those are Coopers."
Well,
We'll go with those.
here is the thing. It's better to. I don't really know much about tires other than their their longevity rating, because that's a tough fucking word. And
Twin wheel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. No, I don't know much about them other than sizes and stuff, and I barely knew how the sizes were even oriented until you actually set me straight. So I wasn't about to go on an off-road podcast and claim to know a goddamn thing about tires.
you see,
I have BF Goodrich ATs on the Prado. They work great in the snow. They've worked great off-road. They've worked great in the mud. I
fascinating.
am willing to try something else, but I know nothing about tires, so I mean, I don't know
See-
what else you wanted from me.
You see, Mike's tires are only tires in the academic sense. They were round. They had once been made of rubber. That's a movie. That's a movie reference that I don't think you people get, and I'm really sad.
Yeah, over.
The
my
point
head.
is, we
Sorry,
went
Sam.
on a different podcast and derailed somebody else for an hour 45. So
It was glorious.
Yes.
It was the derailment
love-
was strong.
I loved when they were trying to shut it down, and then you just kept fucking roping them back in, and then they kept engaging. And it's like, I thought they were wanting to stop this, but they're saying stuff. So,
What can I say? I'm a charmer.
not that.
All right, I'll come up with something else. You're right.
But Dave, you've got a favorite tire. When you and I go on there, I'm gonna have to think of something.
I actually have favorites of all of their questions.
Oh,
So,
mm,
I actually, yeah, I have been watching those guys for a while now. So, on my
actually
own
play the
accord,
game
not even
through
because
the
it's
window?
no. When
Under the bathroom
actually,
stall?
when Sean from We Like Shooting got to talking about the Firearms Radio Network a couple years ago, he's like, "We got an off-road podcast on now," and I was like, "Gonna check that out because that interests me," and they are interesting. You want to talk about structure? Them boys have a schedule.
We did not stick to it last night.
That's for the
Like
best.
they shared their show notes with us, and the structure was there, and I was like, "Look at this
God, yeah.
structure!"
Beautiful.
And then, yeah, we just
I want to destroy it.
trashed it, and we did.
Vince is in there looking for like, do I have the ability to edit this?
We basically ignored it completely.
No,
There's a bunch of white text in there now.
no, we need to have the rest of those guys on too, Aaron and Ben,
Yeah.
and then Sam and I will go on their show sometime. No pressure.
Yes. No
Oh,
pressure.
it'll be
Coy.
fine.
Aaron,
Coy.
Ben.
But like, you know,
But,
total pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure, but like, you know, come on.
Under pressure. Dun, dun,
No,
dun,
it's good to
dun.
get with those guys though.
All right. So, Mike, why are you sending people pictures posing as a woman? You said catfishing, not me.
Actually,
What? Nobody said catfishing.
He just downloaded that picture, Sam. It wasn't of him.
Oh,
It was a fake one.
man, that
I don't-
explains a lot.
What?
I don't,
well,
he doesn't know what we're talking about.
I'll save Mike.
Please. do.
No, you didn't go. You didn't go catfishing. I went catfishing.
Oh. See, I only
It was
blamed
me.
it on Mike because in the show notes he has something about crawfishing, and I can't read.
God damn it. Thank you. You could have let that go on for a lot longer.
I don't know what's going on. Everybody, we're all very tired except for Sam, who is a high functioning something.
Froggy. Let's see.
I drink a white
Same as
monster.
Froggy.
Today, all right, that's all I have to say. Maybe 2.
No. So this past Sunday, I got to go out fishing on Lake Texoma again, much in the same way that we went striper fishing at the beginning of June. Is that when that happened? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, we went out with the same guide, except we went out fishing for some catfish on Lake Texoma. And, I kind of learned that you can get really addicted to having all the toys associated with fishing
I wouldn't know
pretty
anything.
fast.
I wouldn't know anything about this kind of subject, about having all the toys for something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
It's like gun fishing.
Yeah. Well, when you go out there and
It's like,
you
oh.
realize you're sitting in the same spot, fishing in the same spot because your guide has a GPS controlled trolling motor that keeps you in the exact same spot. You're just like, that is so cool. I bet it's
That
really
is pretty cool.
expensive.
Next thing you know, you've bought one, and you're like, all right.
Now I
I need
need
a
a boat.
boat.
Yeah.
Buy
I got
once,
to
try
decide.
once.
Sad thing is, the boat is the cheap part.
Dude, we went to Cabela's last month and
Talk about cheap boats.
we're wandering by boats and my son's like, Dad, we should get this one. I'm like, son, that's more than our house cost.
That is $109,000 of sparkly blue paint.
That's
Yeah.
what really bothers me about the boats. At least I haven't been to Cabela's in a really long time. It's too far north, and there's no reason to go there. But Bass Pro has all the Bass Pro boats out front, and they're just. You walk by them, and you're like, "Wow, that is some really shiny paint. Look at those really crappy welds. Oh my god, I know nothing about welds, and they just look terrible. Like you couldn't clean those up before you sell your boat."
I don't know anything about welds, but I've glued things before and I know how it's supposed to look.
I can
yeah,
lay
and
a
it-
mighty
you can-
fine cocked bead.
Yeah, and they don't look like that. And what Bass Pro wants 30,000 for their
Hot glue gun.
bad hot glue gun boats.
Yeah.
Maybe it is hot glue gun, and they painted over it to look like weld.
Anyway,
Maybe it's JB
That's
Weld.
terrifying. What is that?
El
that-
Perro.
That's the wiener dog that just peed on my floor down here.
He's like, I'm such a good boy. Look at
You
me.
bad
I
weenie.
peed everywhere.
This is a girl.
That's a
Turned
wiener
me
dog.
Chevy.
It's a boy.
No, it's
yeah.
definitely
That looks like
definitely did not just pee like a boy.
to bring this into a hunting related thing. That looks like the dog off of the movie Open Season.
It does.
Sure.
Oh, it totally does. He's got a
This is
German
a good
accent.
little. This is a good little piece of bear bait right here.
I've been living a lie.
Go away.
So after we've derailed our own show,
I didn't know. We didn't derail it. The dog did.
Vince, back to your
Oh
Dog
yeah, that's what we were doing.
downstairs.
No, we got there about 6:30 in the morning this time, and we got out on the water pretty quick. And we didn't go very far. We didn't get out of the arm of the lake that we launched in, because the way he does the catfish fishing for volume is he goes out and he'll find some structure underwater around a underwater ridge or a jetty or something, and he'll bait the hole a couple days in advance to draw in all those nice catty fish, and go back and forth between a couple that he has baited and see kind of what's biting. And we got out there and we're sitting there and we're not getting a whole lot of bites. I think my brother pulled in the first one, as is tradition, and I think I caught one sitting there. And they really weren't taking off, and I started talking to him about it, and turns out he's like, okay, so if you start seeing buffalo carp and other trash fish like drum and gar hitting the top of the water, that usually means the catfish should be biting, but there was nothing out there on the lake yet. So he's like, the bite might come later in the day. So, we'll just sit here, and if here in about 20 minutes, if we haven't been catching anything, we'll move over to the other one. And I think we ended up catching, well, I won't get into the total so far yet, but let me check my notes. I think we didn't catch a whole lot right there, but I think I caught the biggest one that we caught that day, sitting right there. We were using like a punch bait. I can't remember the exact variety of punch bait that that we were using, but it basically was like a dough, and you take it and you put it around the. Oh, 6:30 in the mornings when we got out there. Javelin fangs. But we started noticing pretty quick something very different than the striper. When we were out there with the striper, they were hitting the bait really hard, and you really didn't have to do a whole lot with it. But the catfish were being all sneaky about it, and they were kind of nibbling. And I started to realize while we were out there that you kind of did. There was a skills gap. Like the kids were having a really hard time. Like it was my dad, my brother, and I, and my brother's boy and my oldest boy, and the two kids, ages 8 and 9, were having a heck of a time landing a bite on anything, because I started to realize the catfish were just coming up real easy and just like slipping that dough bait off the hook and just swimming away. So you get one little like whoop bite, not even a hit, just a little nothing bite, and you'd reel up and you'd have no bait. And the poor kids, that went on for hours.
So you just
Whereas-
fed catfish.
Whereas, so my brother and I and my dad, he took us catfish fishing from the time we could basically walk. And we kind of know how to set the hook on a catfish that's just kind of nibbling at something. And it's almost instinct. And so we're like, oh, got one on, pull it in, got one on, pull it in. And I just say it's just the kids. But there was another guide who was hooked onto our boat who had some of his good striper clients with him. And he hadn't baited any holes, so he was just hooked on with our guide, fishing back behind us. And I don't think that there was two couples, and I don't think they had done a whole lot of fishing for catfish, because they were not having a whole lot of luck either, because you had to really be paying attention to the end of the rod and the feel of the line, because if you weren't going to feel the bite. You were never going to notice it. So yes,
fish nerd question.
okay.
Do you know what weight of line you were using and what like weight of the rod, like light, medium, heavy?
I think the rod was a medium weight, like a straight up medium.
Oh, okay.
Using just an open face reel with, which was kind of different than with the striper. The striper had the counter on it, so you could adjust for depth easily. But the ones we were using, we were just dropping to the bottom and then reeling up three turns or 4 turns.
Oh, okay.
Because that was another thing. Something interesting he was telling us is that, so we're looking at the the fish finder, and you're seeing fish at about 14 to 15 feet deep, and we're fishing in 30 feet of water. But we were not reeling up to where those fish were. We were reeling up, maybe 3 or 4 feet, because apparently the differences in the water column, there's not enough oxygen down low for the fish to stay there. But they still go down there and feed. So they'll dive down, grab food, and come back up. So you still drop your bait all the way down to the bottom, even though the fish aren't there. The fish are up higher, which I thought was really interesting, because he was telling us, during the hot parts of the year, you'll find trophy catfish in 5 to 6 feet of water. And if you go put out jug lines, if you put them out deeper than about 20 feet and a fish bites at a hook that you have set below about 15 to 20 feet, that fish will suffocate before you can get out there to it, because there's not enough oxygen down low in the water column to sustain the fish. So we were out there fishing in about 30 feet of water most of the time in one of the baited holes, and yes, we were using a treble hook with like a doe type punch bait, and also my dad brought his that we usually use, which is a little bit runnier but has a lot more guts and stuff in it, and it seemed to stay on the hook better. We were catching much smaller fish on his stuff because it would stay on the hook longer, and they would actually peck at it long enough that they would get down small enough, and then they'd try and grab it and get it in their little mouths. And my dad pulled up, I think, nothing but 1.5 pound to 1 pound catfish while he was sitting there, because he was using his bait that was much smaller and it was attracting smaller fish mouths. Let's see, about 9 in the morning. So we were all watching the radar because there was a chance of rain that day. It was like, maybe it'll miss us. Okay, maybe it's going to rain for a little bit. And then we started getting some drops on us, and like there was a line of thunderstorms coming through, and it rained up in Oklahoma all day, but the very bottom of that storm sent like one tiny little finger of rain over top of us. It's like, okay, we'll go back into the boat slip and we'll go get some breakfast and wait out the rain a little bit. So we zoomed back over. I think it's a 20 or 22 foot boat with a Yamaha V8 4-stroke, and so you can move a little bit. So we just zoomed the couple miles back into the marina and went up and ate a little bit, and had actually a pretty damn good BLT. I was a bit surprised at how good the marina BLT was, but they put it on Texas toast, and there was about 10 pieces of bacon on it, so it's kind of hard to mess that up. So we sat.
Lovely.
It was
The
actually
LT.
The B. And then what sucked about that is we were starting to get bites pretty good whenever we had to come back in, and it's like, we could stay out there, but they had trouble a couple of times, this past season of getting caught out in the weather, so they didn't want to do it again, which I understand. It's dangerous, especially with lightning, because there was lightning in that storm. And after we went back out after about an hour, it's about 10 in the morning, the wind shifted from the east to directly out of the north, and just talking to the other guides on the lake, the bite stopped. No one was getting bites anywhere after the wind shifted out of the north, which is something that can happen. It sucks. Like the rain either turns the fishing on really well or can shut it off. And it shut it off this time. I think we pulled in a grand total of 3 fish after we came back out from the marina. And none of what we got, I'll say, was super big. We had a several good eating sized fish in the 4 to 5 pound range, but we didn't get into any of the 15 to 20 pounders. Like I was really hoping that we were going to get into a mess of those in the 10 to 20 pound range for the kids to like have a real fight with.
Yeah.
So maybe next time, you don't always get the big fishies, and then it started to rain on us again, but there was no lightning with it, so we just sat out there for a while. And then we look back to the west, and we're in a finger of the lake that points south, and it's about a mile across or so. And we look back west, and we just see a wall of water.
Oh.
And our guide Rodney's like, "Reel them up, time to go." I'm like, "Yep, time to go." It was a little late. We ended up getting pretty soaked on the way back to the boat slip the second time, and then we were trying to wait it out, but turns out that finger of the storm kind of went over us sideways, so just trailed over top of us for about an hour, And at that point, there wasn't enough time to go back out. Our time had kind of run out. Something I missed. My son, I think it was on the second time out, he managed to land one, and I was really happy for him because he was excited. He managed to pull in a good, 3.5 pound catfish. I'm like, yes. Unfortunately, my nephew was not able to land anything. He just didn't have the attention span to sit there and wait for that little bite and pull something in. And he also wasn't close enough to somebody whenever they landed one to let him pull it in. But he did have a lot of fun because we're sitting there early on. This is early in the morning. We're at the first baited hole next to, at the end of an underwater jetty. And he's like, in his little voice, he's like, I know where the fish are. He's like, oh, do you? He's like, uh-huh. I can feel them. I can feel the fish brain. They're not over here. They're over there. And I'm like, what the hell, child of the corn? Knock it off.
My God.
Fish whisperer.
Yeah. He's
Did
like,
you
I
listen
can
to the
feel-
fish whipper?
No.
Maybe you
Maybe
should
we
have.
should have. Yeah.
It would have been
Like-
weirder if you listened and it worked.
He's like, they're over here. I can feel them coming this way. They're coming to us. Like,
They're coming right for us.
yeah, except but in this kind of high-pitched, wispy voice. A little bit. Because he's got a little bit of a lisp because he's a child. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Your nephew freaks me out.
yeah, he was trying pretty hard, apparently. He's like, I know where they are. They're not here right now. Like, yeah, we get that. We're not catching anything.
Like
But-
he's trying to tell you, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, kid. But he's trying to tell you the fish brains. He can feel them.
Like, hey, could you shut up? You're creeping me out. But they have fun out on the boat no matter what. So
Boats are awesome for kids.
yeah. Oh, that was the other thing with I was talking skill issue. I looked. So I think the second fish I pulled in was about a 3.5-4 pound catfish, and I set the hook pretty good on him. Like, oh yeah, he's pulling real hard, and I get him up to the surface, and I realize I don't have him hooked in the mouth. That he went and took a bite on it, and as I set that hook, it caught him just below the dorsal fin.
Oh, you
And
didn't hook him in the motor?
Ooh.
And so I pulled up a catfish that I did not hook in the mouth. I set that hook right into his back and pulled him up that way. And I just looked at the guy and oh yeah, that's all skill. That's skill. And then 5 minutes later, my brother did the same freaking thing. So it was like, damn it, bro, you got to do that. So we pulled in 2, maybe 3. No, the other one was actually hooked right around the mouth. But we pulled in 2 that got hooked, not in the mouth, because we managed to hook one that was just playing with the bait and get a hold of him before he got away. Which is just illustrative of how difficult the bite was going while we were out there. But this next time out, I think we're going to take the girls striper fishing, because the bite on those seemed to be a much more sporty bite. And, the kids weren't having to set the hook on those. The hooks were setting themselves. And with the catfish, it was much more difficult. But I think, so Rodney was talking about it, and I'm going to try and convince my dad that we need to go on a trophy catfish trip, which is a little bit different, where you go out into deeper water and float with the water column, and you use much bigger bait, and you aim for those really and truly large catfish. And that, he's like, that's more of a winter trip. And I'm like, Dad. And he's like, yeah, maybe. Like, but he also said with that you'd probably get maybe 3 or 4 hits a day. Like you might reel in 2 or 3 fish, but that's like the real photo op worthy fish going on there.
The two-handed fucking
The two-handed or the
Yeah.
In knee-deep water, barely holding it up with 3 people,
Mhm.
kind of. Yeah,
This I caught a dinosaur is what I caught, really.
yeah. I'm jonesing for that. I'm still gonna work on him for that. But that was the most recent trip, and we're gonna do it some more. I think we found something that we like getting into, especially when you take somebody else's equipment and go mess with it, and you don't have to spend $80,000 on a boat or more. Though my son is convinced that he is going to work at a marina when he is a teenager as a deckhand on a boat, which is something that
Interesting.
It could be
kids
worse.
do. There's something that he had his son out there employed as a deckhand when we were doing the striper fishing, because there is stuff to do as the guide. You're baiting hooks, you're netting fish by the boat, especially if there's a lot going on. Everyone's got a fish on the hook at once. You got a lot to do. So there's room for a deckhand there, but I don't know how he's going to manage that. He has yet to explain that to me. So, but he knows everything.
I
else.
also
He'll figure it out.
wouldn't. I also wouldn't ruin a good hobby with a job. I did that
Yeah.
with mechanicking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
I hear
don't
that a
know
lot
fishing.
about. I hear that a lot about from mechanics. It just burns you out.
Which is completely different than a fucking deckhand. But
Mhm.
I mean, if he loves it, then he's
I don't think
never
it's
going to
quite
work a
the
day in her
same,
life or his
because
life.
I'm watching Rodney, and it's not a job. He's out there having fun.
Oh,
Like it's a hobby, because he has a different job. Like he has a normal Monday through Friday job, and then on the weekends he goes and does this. So
well, that helps.
yeah, Saturday and Sunday he just spends at the lake, floating around on the water looking for fish, and he gets looking for fish for other people who are paying him
Mhm.
on his nice boat with all the toys, because somebody else's dime is financing it, basically.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him for. It's a lot of fun.
I take other people fishing so I can go fishing the way I want later.
Anyway, that's all I had for that today right now. Let me see. Sam, what are you doing?
I thought that was a cigarette, and I was like, "You rebel!"
Hello, I'm being forced to record against my will.
It says help, not hello. Although it is funnier that you said hello. I am being forced to record against
Well,
my will.
I thought it said receipt at first instead of record. So
Mm-hmm.
No, I built a map board. that I've
He's
been
probably
screwing around
forced to receipt against his will also.
with. Yeah, I built a map board that I've been screwing around with.
You definitely have been.
apparently, what's a map board?
What have you
It's a board.
What have you been doing that's what have you been doing that's not map board related and more hunting related?
The map board is very hunting related. This is what
Okay.
I intend on carrying my backup paper maps in.
Ooh.
Because I don't
Then
like
it is
carrying
hunting
paper.
related.
Even if it's outdoor related. No, the whole concept is gives you a board that you can pull out and look at your map. And if you need to doodle something on it because you're talking with somebody about where we're going to go, well, see, we can go right along here. You can do all the doodling on top of it. It's basically
It's-
just 2 pieces of Lexan plexiglass, edged with duct tape so you don't cut yourself on it. And then I just put it together with some binder clips. And then I also put some Velcro on a separate sheet so that you can cover up what you wrote and not immediately wipe it off. Or if you want to get fancy and have 2 layers of writing, you can do the top layer and then the bottom layer.
Oh, The
Here-
transparency.
It actually was supposed to be a lot more complicated than this because I was originally going to make it more of a binder format, and potentially have a spot to put pens or whatever. But it turns out I can actually just sandwich my protractor in between the two layers and just Velcro the marker on top of it too. So yeah.
Hey, in the chat, we have a request to explain it for the audio listeners. Basically, it's just two pieces of plexiglass pressed together with duct
It's two
tape.
pieces of plexiglass that are just that put together with duct tape. All it is two pieces. And here's a single sheet of it. It's just a piece of clear plexiglass. I rounded the corners off with an angle grinder, put duct tape around the edges so it's not sharp. You take two of those and you take some binder clips, which are the little black clips that everybody had in school,
Mm-hmm.
and you just bind them together with your map in between.
Size-wise, it's
So now
about
you can
8
see-
inches by 6 inches.
8x10.
Ooh, okay.
For this one, roughly the same size as if you go to the USGS, the Geological Service, you can print out their topo maps for just about anywhere in the country. So roughly the same size as that. Right now, it has one of my National Geographic maps sandwiched in there.
So why the plexiglass? Why not just laminate them?
Area map, because I've torn up maps
Laminate them,
before.
put them through a ring, and I know laminate.
It's just different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, that's.
That
I mean,
all
you
fine.
have the rigid structure to write on too. So I'm looking
I'm
at the
not
pros.
sure how much. So I'm going. I roped another buddy to go in archery elk hunting here in September. He's not going to bring a bow, but Onyx is one thing. I love using Onyx. I use it all the time. At the same time, occasionally it's nice just to pull out a map and go, yeah, so we're going to be over here without you going all right, hunch over my phone with me and let's touch our noses together as we look at the tiny little screen about where we're going to be going.
Yeah.
We're gonna touch apps.
And you should and then you should always have.
That's appealing.
Sorry.
It's not appealing at all. You should always have backup maps with you if you're going out in the backwoods.
Mhm.
Never just rely on your phone. You should know how to use a protractor or at least a compass to shoot an azimuth to where you want to go. And then you should roughly be able to figure out where you're at to begin with, which is where I'm a little sketchier. I can still shoot an azimuth with a protractor just fine, but
What Sam did was make a map case that you can write on. It's like an
Like-
advanced whiteboard.
kind of. They make the floppy ones too, like just the floppy clear plastic
Yeah.
like sleeves. The problem I had with a couple of those I've owned in the past is if you're printing maps off of online and you slide them on in there, it'll pick up the ink, the plastic.
Oh,
and then
yep.
pretty soon it's kind of dingy looking.
Yeah.
So
So
I
here's
like it
another.
a
it's just a dumb little fun project that I did.
This is just an alternate way to do it. I'm not saying yours is better.
Yes,
or worse,
Mike.
and this
Tell
is
him
not
how it's
better.
done. Do
Um,
it. Piss him off.
No, it's just an alternate. Laminate the map sheets, put a ring through them, and then write on them with permanent ink so they don't go away, or so the ink doesn't run or anything. And then when it comes time to erase them, use a dry erase to just mark over the permanent, and whoop, off
No,
it
that's
goes.
that's totally a way to do it. It's just
I'm just offering
like
an alternate,
boards.
is all.
I like
yeah,
the boards because then if the person you're hunting with won't listen to you, you can go
Yeah.
right over the back.
Dude, I was literally going to say you
Or-
can smack somebody with it.
Or it could be a plate.
and it's a little plate. Oh, there you go, Dave.
fucking right.
You're just
Me
taking
and you-
everybody's ideas.
Me and you, Sam. We're on
It's
this
a
shit.
plate. It's a striking implement, but it's not going to cause any permanent damage. Hopefully,
Quick, Vince, what's your idea?
You can
before he
also-
steals yours too.
You could also use it to communicate in the blind by writing on it instead of whispering.
That's solid.
Or
that's,
shining it.
that's actually not a terrible
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
it's
like
like
light
that.
signals reflecting the sunlight into your buddy's eye in the tent
Keep-
in the
keep
blind.
keep the kiddo distracted. Like here, draw on
Here,
this.
yeah, with my daughter, no kid here, doodle. That actually
Aziz, light.
Cutting board.
Nah, because then
Yeah.
you'll scratch your. Your left
That's
hand.
fine.
We get a new one.
If it happens.
Kindling for starting fires.
The fire smells so good. It smells like burning.
I can taste the cancer.
Yeah.
Tic-tac-toe.
I was messing around with it. Oh, there
Ooh,
you go. You
tic-tac-toe.
play games on it. There you go. Perfect. All things,
Hangman.
all things you can also do on a laminated sheet. Just saying.
But then you
Hangman's
have
an
to have a
interesting game.
three-ring
Be literate
binder.
or this guy dies.
Oh, I tried to do the binder thing. I originally drilled holes in it because I was going to put snap fasteners with your
Mhm.
pieces of webbing and use that to attach all four corners. Oops, I just bumped my microphone. And then it turns out as a bozo, and I didn't buy the leather snap fasteners, just the normal cloth ones, and they're the studs to rivet them aren't long enough to reach through the plexiglass. I was like, oh, I feel stupid. I drilled all these holes for no reason. But it's fine. Again, this isn't like something I was like, ooh, it's so necessary. It's just I've wanted. I always take paper maps with me. My paper maps always get torn up at some point. Even riding around in the top shelf of my pack, I feel like they always get torn up at some point. And so, yeah, always have paper maps. Don't always trust Onyx. But no.
Dude,
Now, what are you going to use those
the more of
maps
these you-
for this coming season?
Oh, look!
What's your
at you with a
application for this?
fancy segue. Oh well, this one right now is at Rocky Mountain National Park, which I will not be in because I couldn't find my map.
I
I'm going to
mean,
be elk hunting.
You
I
could be
have a
in
map
it.
of it somewhere.
So that one doesn't apply to this situation.
Not yet. But
Free
no,
men don't ask permission.
I'll pack extra map along for archery elk coming up here 1st of September, 2nd of September technically. And then I also pulled 2 bear tags out of the leftover draw. So in Colorado we have primary draw, which is all the fancy tags everybody wants. You apply and you use up your points. And then secondary draw, which is the tags left over from primary draw. Right? That you get a 2nd shot at. Okay.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it's the leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
Literally
buy
called
it.
the leftovers.
That's what it is. You want to buy a tag, you can finally buy a tag.
I actually have a decent idea for an elk hunt we could do in October.
But-
We'll talk about it offline.
I
but
thought you weren't going to go elk hunting because you're broken.
no, I'm going to get my knee
Sounds
looked
like-
at, which
sounds
is
like
this
the
month. I don't know.
Cold,
if I'm going or not.
overcooked spaghetti of hunting tags.
We'll unbreak him. We'll just like wrap his whole leg with duct tape.
Just bring that rifle behind you and wrap it around my leg with gauze, and
I'm not,
it'll be a
you're
makeshift.
not using
sling.
my rifle as a splint. Use your own rifle as a splint.
I thought you were going
But
to
that's
use
a
the
perfect
rifle in
splint.
a different way.
No, we're going to cut off your leg and we're going to replace the lower half of your leg with a cannon.
That I mean,
Okay, go on.
He would never move, and it would be fantastic. Because all he'd bitch about, this leg is so heavy.
I can't move.
Oh my god! Every fucking time, every time. Oh,
But no, I have 1 bear tag for the same area I went last year because I'm gonna go. I gotta be careful how I phrase this. I'm not going to get revenge on the cows because that's gonna make the poor rancher think I'm gonna come kill his cows. But I might not actually go back there again because depending on how this first stint of archery hunting goes, I might want to go back out again just to see how they act differently when we're a little bit more into the rut. Versus
You're going to
open.
go back out there and you're going to passive aggressively toss shade at those cows.
Yeah.
you're gonna be anti-Mike to those cows. They were getting really close, kind of scary. And in fact, you will just walk through them.
Listen here, you little shit.
As they
Actually,
go,
I take
oh
that
god.
back. Listen here, you really big
So what
shit.
you're saying is I need to take Mike with me so we can help him confront his bovinophobia.
No, because that's how you get like offhand bear spray.
And then I
Today
got
on Let's Go Hunt, Mike bear sprays a cow.
and me.
And Sam by accident.
No, the cow was by accident.
Oh sure. And then I got a second bear. This
Sam
one
was on purpose.
the second tag I'll definitely go and try for. More by Buena Vista, which is like October 12th of November or something. Although looking at the unit that I got the tag for, it's not nearly as fertile of ground as over on the western slope, but we'll see.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you go out and have a nice hike in the woods with a gun.
Now, worst comes to worst, I fall off a cliff and die. Like that's not the worst. Let's get our priorities straight here.
That's actually a pretty
Check my paper
satisfactory
map.
ending.
That's not a satisfactory ending.
For you, you'll
Satisfactory-
be gone. You won't care no more. It'll be unsatisfactory for the rest of us, but you'll be
No,
gone.
I'll still care beyond the grave that I died by falling off a cliff. We could make it more interesting, like bear attack or random psycho murderer, as long as I take one of them with me.
Sam's falling down the cliff. It was supposed to be Russia.
This is
Rolling
not
like an
cool.
avalanche coming down the mountain.
Yeah, they're like an
Bum,
avalanche.
bum,
That'll work.
bum.
How did say, Grandma? How did Grandpa die? Well, he was shooting at an avalanche as it came towards him. He may have caused the avalanche by shooting at the snow, but
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Take a 40 Mike up on the
We're not using freaking artillery and recoilless rifles for avalanche control in Colorado anymore, and it's really lame.
Boo. Boo.
Can we call it a 40 Mitch? That way
Yeah.
Mike doesn't feel so cool anymore.
I've never been cool. Let's be clear.
40
But
Michelin.
it's fine. Yes, I like that. 40 Michelin.
Yeah, oh boy.
Anyway.
So, Dave and Vince, you both got in the Guardian LPVOs from Gideon when we were talking to Bobert a couple of weeks ago.
How did they LPV go?
Does it ever
All right,
stop,
new topic.
Mike?
It never
I think
does.
we're just
I'm
gonna have
sorry.
to ignore
I'm
it.
really not sorry. No, you're.
I don't know if I can. I will do my best, but no.
You're
we
right.
did.
It does shut down the brain whenever you hear it. It's just
Right?
like white noise. There's
You have to take time to process and then realize what you processed was in fact what you thought you were going to, and it was just bullshit.
Our poor listeners.
It's like when you fell asleep in front of the TV as a kid, and you wake up at 2 a.m. and there's just white noise on the TV, like you're wondering what's wrong with the world.
Look,
Girls
there's not
Gone
just white
Wild.
noise on TV. There's also black noise too.
Hey,
So we got these LPVOs in, and Vince, what one did you get? You got the second focal plane, right?
Yeah, I got the 34 millimeter second focal plane 1 to 10.
Okay. Okay.
and
Yeah.
no, you have second. Dave has the same one I have.
I have the 1 to 8 30 millimeter first focal plane.
Yep.
With the Star of Death in it.
The Eye of Sauron. The
that.
TIE
I
fighter.
have Sauron.
The
And-
X-wing that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Does he ever find his
do,
contact lens?
I do want to bring that up. And I'm not really bothered by that reticle
Doesn't get
Really?
you.
at this moment.
Interesting.
Like it's when I was sighting it in, I have it strapped on my AR right now, and I do love the reticle because it's MOA and BDC. So and I have it strapped to an AR, so BDC runs right in there with 223. So got BDC, but then I have MOA, which I'm used to, and I'm not like a mill
But-
guy like you
but-
guys.
You know, okay.
I'm American, God damn it.
I'm American too.
I was very confused when I really looked at that reticle closer. Having the BDC and an MOA grid together, like a BDC that fades into a grid at a certain
It's-
point.
It's not okay. So there's no MOA dots on the first, I think 4 subtensions of the BDC.
Uh-huh.
They're just next to it.
Right.
So I mean, you can Kentucky windage that shit into your BDC like line, your elevation mark.
Yeah, we've got to talk to them about getting better pictures of that reticle on the website, because trying to describe it and then telling people, well, you can go look, it's like, nah, the website doesn't really do it either.
They need a camera
So-
behind it, and they can zoom in while the camera records, and then zoom back out so people can really understand what the hell is going on.
One thing I sent Bob an email and I haven't heard back, so I might have pissed him off. But One thing I
entirely
did note
possible, but
is they need to have the actual subtension values of everything on the reticle listed. Like
Oh,
if you
like on
go
the BDC?
w-
Yeah, I
yeah, on
agree.
the BDC, like where this is 0.5 MOA wide, this is 3.2 MOA from here to here,
Oh,
this is
okay.
1.2 MOA from here to here. And you can do the same thing with the first focal plane one. It's not as necessary because you actually have an MOA grid. But one thing
Mhm.
is like, yeah, there's plenty of people who are going to go out there and just use it as it is, and they'll never need to know, and they're it's never going to bother them that the information is out there because they don't need it. But everyone who does want to know is going to be bothered that it's not there.
But you could figure that information out by yourself. You could take one of those MOA sight-in targets that they have, the
So-
ones where you put them down at 100 yards exactly, and you zoom in at your max magnification, and everything in your MOA reticle lines exactly up with the inch-wide squares of the grid, and then you can
Whoa.
measure your reticle down that way, and you can
You
say, oh, it's
can.
like a square and a half. It's a square and a half up, but the problem is with like
You'll never be
you have the
exact
10
doing
by,
that.
right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And being with the 10 by, you're not going to be able to zoom in to be super precise. You'd have to like actually. I kind of think
It's an LPVO. I mean, we
Look
don't
at-
all hunt antelope at 25x.
No, what I'm saying is just I want to know. That's what I'm saying is
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
know all of the subtensions of that whatever reticle I'm using. And the other thing, so I noticed that your reticle, the first focal plane has it, like it's got the numbers that show you what MOA you're at,
Mm-hmm.
like down the grid. The BDC doesn't have anything like that. And then no, it's a really simple reticle as far as like there's nothing fancy on there to distract you. But I still want, like, if this means 300 yards, I still want a 3 on it. If this means 400, I want a 4 right there, and I want a 5 because I don't want to have to go 1, 2, 3 before I get to 3 if I'm looking through it.
And we also
Yeah.
need to make it more obvious that the top of the hat is 1, and then the top of the arrow underneath the hat is 2, and then you have subtensions underneath that.
Well, that's a different reticle than what I have, because
Yeah,
my
you-
BDC reticle, mine's a 200-yard 0 in the middle, right there, and then it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and so you can kind of play with it like that. But then you got the MOA surrounding the BDC reticle,
Right.
and
I thought Vince was
As
talking
it-
about his reticle. He doesn't.
I
He
am
doesn't
talking
know
about my
exactly.
reticle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't know
Okay.
the MOA differences between like the top of the hat and the top of the.
oh, I didn't know yours was actual. Is yours BDC then?
Yeah,
Mine's
his looks like
BDC.
basic. His looks
Okay.
a lot like an ACOG reticle.
Mine's the
Yeah, it's-
lollipop. And if you're just going to use it on a normal 5.56 with 55 to 62 grain loads, like mil spec ish loads, it's fine and it'll work pretty well. Actually, I'm assuming. I haven't stretched it out, and actually when I took mine out, I was trying to do like some precision checks because the rifle I had it on is a pretty precise AR, but alas, it was really hot out and I wasn't holding very well. Like I was, even on a bench with a rest, I was moving too much because I was stressed from the heat. And then I started having mechanical problems with my rifle because my gas block unseated itself,
Oof.
which is what I get for playing with my Legos too much and not torquing everything back down when I'm done. So
yeah,
I will-
will happen.
I will add one thing. When I was sighting mine in, I was reading the book, and in their book, it does say that the BDC reticle was figured out with a AR, and I'm almost positive it was 55 grain out of a 16-inch barrel, and that's what they used. And I did appreciate that, because all the other BDC that I've ever dealt with in my life is like, yeah, this is 223. Here
Well,
you go.
not all of them. Like Primary Arms gives you like a whole bunch of information, like they give you like what factory ammunition will match this BDC fairly well out of what barrel
cool.
length and yada yada yada, and like you could just tell me the subtensions of the reticle, and then I can measure because I put every load over a chronograph so I know exactly how fast it's going.
Mhm.
And then I look up the ballistic coefficient of the projectile, and I figure out what the drop data would actually be and the windage, and then I match that to my reticle, which is why I use like just a general mil scale or an MOA scale, because at trying to match that to a BDC that has inconsistent intervals is actually much more difficult.
Yeah.
But I understand why people do use BDC for the simplicity of it.
I
My
will
problem was
say-
I wanted to go put this on my 300 Blackout just for giggles, because what in the world?
That's
It's,
their plane. That's their
I
plane
live north
crashed
of the
Mike's house.
airport. There's an airplane taking off.
Oh, cool.
If he erupts in a orange blaze and then cuts to black, pancake.
It will be the greatest descent.
Why do
What
you
was that?
hate me?
Yeah, jokes.
I mean, I know you hate my jokes, but why do you hate
Dad
me?
jokes.
I didn't say it was final descent. I said the greatest descent. You don't want to go out in a fiery ball of plane crash? Anyway,
No,
Vince.
no, that's actually my worst fear.
No, I'd love to put this on a 300 Blackout. That seems like a lot of fun to me. But without knowing the actual value of the BDC, it's kind of difficult to do. Like I could go do what Mike said and go measure it, but also you will never be as precise as what the
Right.
company gives you as far as like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to be.
And then you got to remember that stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
My
other problem.
A year would go by and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't
I-
remember any of this.
At one point a while back, Mike was talking about like, oh, you have to figure out like how many mils are in an inch or what have you. When if you're looking through a scope, you're using the reticle as a measuring device. You're measuring
Mhm.
everything in MOA or in mils. You're not converting anything to centimeters. You're not converting anything to inches. You're just using what's in front of your face to measure what you're looking at. So like if you miss, that miss isn't, oh, it was 2 inches right and 1 inch down. That was 0.7 mils right and it was 0.2 mils down. It's not. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're not having to do all the math in your head. You're just using the ruler that's on the reticle in front of your face. And you can match any load to that ruler, which is why the ruler itself is very useful,
Mhm.
But it's kind of
And-
like Americans will use anything besides the metric system to measure
We
things.
will use BDC.
Like we have this is one thumb down, and then there is 2 thumbs below it.
Why do you think
I
we
would like-
measure horses and hands?
I would like my
my
next
favorite.
reticle to be an Artians. Thank you very much.
I have a BDC reticle in the scope that I have on my 6.5 Creedmoor, and I use it so much that I actually take my scope caps off and will dial my turret with my yardage, because I at least know what the fucking middle is. Nothing below that matters to me in the
Right,
slightest.
you'll dial for it. That's
Yeah,
perfectly reasonable.
but
But I mean, I could do that with this. I could just figure out. I could dial it. Actually, I hadn't considered that for some reason.
for what I'm going to use this Guardian for, it will suit me fine because
What are you
it's
going to use
a
it for?
predator rifle.
Yeah.
So it's coyotes or a varmint, I guess. So coyotes, rabbits, badgers, that kind of shit. That's where it's gonna shine, and if I have to hold high, I'll hold high. It, the BDC with the 5.56 will be close to 223. Yes, it was on a 16-inch barrel. I've got a 20-inch barrel. If I miss, I have a follow-up shot, like right there. I mean, because it's on an AR, so.
Yep.
I think
the other thing.
it'll be a fantastic fucking pickup gun optic.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great.
Actually, the 1 to 10 screams like AR-10 to me.
Oh yeah,
I don't know exactly why. Like, oh, that would
'Cause they
just be.
rhyme.
Yes, it's got a 10 in it. It's where it belongs. But yeah, that's the other thing. I want to know more about the reticle, or just use mill scale, or just dial. I could just dial it, and it'd be just fine. But I also don't have an AR-10, so I might need to remedy that. I don't know.
And I will say, with the scope that I have and that Sam has with the 30 millimeter tube, I'm pretty impressed with the amount of light that it actually picks up
Mm-hmm.
for not having an objective lens at all. It's just fucking.
That was the other thing. When I was out shooting it, it was about 4 p.m, and I was looking directly west, and I had absolutely no problem with glare in any form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Coating seemed to be pretty decent on it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it till later. I was just kind of going over the entire range trip in my head. I'm like, I didn't have any glare problems with this thing, and I was looking like at the sun. And I was like, okay, that's good. It's a good thing to know. I
That's pretty
also
cool.
like that their mount for this sits at about 1.6, so it should line up pretty well with my thermal clip-on. So I need to go mess with that as well.
Ooh. Look at you flexing. You're going back to all the toys that the fishermen had, and you have thermal. And you're like, yeah, I can't go back now.
Dude had a GPS guided
Yeah.
trolling motor that kept you in one spot. Like he was like, if the battery runs out, I'll just drop an anchor. Like you could have dropped an anchor anyway, but you have this. Like,
Yeah, but he's trying to pull the anchor back up. That's heavy.
yeah. It's freaking awesome. But
Sam, I was going to ask you, when
Oh, no.
you light your illumination on that 1.8, is
Yep.
it like half of it on the reticle gets lit? The Eye of Sauron.
Everything that's
Like-
big and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Does
say
only
that,
half
yeah.
of it. Everything
What do
that
you
is
mean?
bold.
everything in bold gets lit up on mine. I think. Gosh. Okay, I think it's everything inside the big red circle. That's big and bold, if I remember right. Do you want me
Yes,
to go grab it? and
mine
look?
does too. But with the arrows that point to every,
All
like,
keep
right to the
talking.
middle,
Give me,
everything?
Give me 1 minute. Give me 1
okay,
minute. Not even a minute. 30 seconds.
locked
On
onto
mine.
the TIE fighter. Fire.
you know, like on a sketch that has a shadow, like you like draw a sphere and there's a shadow next to it. It's like the reticle has a shadow, and that shadow gets illuminated.
Oh, he's back. Oh gosh.
Everything inside the big circle of doom is lit up on mine, including the subtensions on the reticle.
Yeah, with the big bold arrows that point to the middle.
Yes,
Does all of it get lit up, or
Yes.
does like half of it get lit up?
everything on mine.
Okay, because mine is like, yes, they'll light up, but you could draw a line down the middle of that arrow. That is like fucking.
I would check
This
your
half
battery.
is 50% brand new fucking battery.
Oh, well, then take a
like-
picture of it and send it to him.
Oh,
Test out the warranty, because that sounds like your emitter is probably not hitting quite bright enough.
The other thing
Or in
I
the
would
right
say,
spot.
and this is I don't know, maybe a nitpick criticism, but I feel like there should be an off in between every brightness setting.
I
is-
wish there was.
You mean like
Which is-
every other scope out there?
Not every other.
Every other.
Like
Mm.
some people, like this Crimson Trace that I have, it's got, it doesn't have that, but I found out that you can balance it in between the settings, in like you can't see that. It's not.
It's fake off.
It's
I'm
6.5.
stepping in with your shit now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Ew.
that graphic. All right.
But no, an off switch in between every illumination setting is very nice, especially with something that, every LPVO battery in the world dies within 14 minutes. So
I would sacrifice half the brightness settings to have an off in between the brightness.
You don't even need to have to sacrifice a lot of the
Well, otherwise it would
LPVOs
be
I've seen. They
double
have
the
like
fucking
12, 13
clicks.
brightness settings, and they still have halfway clicks in between. You just
Now-
have to rotate it a fuck ton.
Sam, Dave, does yours have the locking turrets?
Mhm.
yes,
Okay,
on
yeah,
on both.
I like that.
I was about
I
to
like
say
that a
about
lot.
The Swamp Fox Warhorse I have is elevation is locking. Windage is a screw top, which I actually like because I don't really dial windage. That one I usually hold over. I tend to dial elevation, and then windage is a holdover for me.
Correct. And now I would mention like having a zero
Yeah,
stop,
yeah, same.
but even on an LPVO. But mine, the second focal plane, there is a whole lot of adjustment on a single rotation of that turret. So having a zero stop is not the most necessary thing because you're not going to be adjusting really past past zero again ever. So
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, gonna be basically what he's saying is not going a full rotation. So you got you zero your optic, you unscrew the little bit on the top of your adjustment knob or your turret, bring it back to zero, screw it all down nice and tight. You're not gonna go a full rotation all the way around where you pass zero again, adjusting elevation, unless you're aiming at the moon.
now, if you're testing the erector assembly and dialing all the way up to max elevation and then back down to your zero, you'll blow right past it. But that's
That's why you count.
you think I can count?
And I
Yeah,
can
he
I'm
lives
just
in
saying,
Oklahoma.
like, that's
I have-
the principle you're supposed to count.
I have gone past zero on the scope that I have on my 6.5 Creedmoor because I was shooting out to 1,000, and I did have to go past zero with it, and it doesn't have zero stop. But then I put it back in the safe, and I was like, I can't remember if I put it back or not. So
Oh well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. You guys got
Zero
those
stop
in.
is
We will be evaluating
No,
those more as we go on. You talked about the lens coating. Go, Dave.
I am excited to shoot a coyote with this, and
That'd be
I
really
will.
Cool.
I'm gonna shoot one at 8 power, and we'll see. Like my determining factor on that reticle is if I lose a coyote due to the giant bold fucking Sauron ring around it, I might be pissed, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
So-
I'm holding off final judgment on that till we get to it. My first impression of it, though, when I was zeroing, was like, I want the X-wings out of my way. But
That's what I
Oh.
thought too, but we'll see.
I think they could be smaller.
Well, sounds like fun. I'm not gonna shoot mine at small critters anytime soon, but I'll.
What about
keep
big
bringing
critters?
these in
Are
the
you
range
taking it
and
moose
having
hunting?
fun? In LPVO moose hunting, no. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. I suppose you could make it work, but I mean, no, I'm not going moose hunting. That's actually more unbelievable than taking an
Heard it.
LPVO moose hunting. Just going moose hunting. Anyway, you
Can
got me
you
rambling
imagine
again.
Mike
you-
shooting a fucking moose. Oh,
Guys?
God. No.
Guys, help me.
did I
We
bring?
must hire a helicopter.
How many rounds did I take with me? 20. I think that'll do it. I don't know.
I don't know. Did I bring a Sig 238 with me on my dog mushing trip? Dog sledding trip. I'm referring to a specific incident. Anywho,
Mashed dogs.
yes, mashing your dogs. There's a video of some dumb lady who was mashing her dogs out in Alaska, encountered a bull moose in the middle of her trail, and instead of like giving it space to, leave, she ran her dogs at it, yelled at it a bunch, and then when it, of course, charged her, she drew a Sig 238, not even a 938 and 9mm, but a 238 in 380, and proceeded to empty all 6 rounds of it at him, which all it really did was he looked at her and was like, "Really, bitch?"
Oh,
I'm
when you said
insulted.
all 6
He-
rounds.
He then stomped her dogs to death, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
don't be
if you're
so
using
fucking
buffalo
cheerful.
boar, I mean it did do
I-
the job, but apparently this time.
All right. Let's see here.
Well,
Vince, do you
I
want
had
Mike?
I
do you
had
wanna
a
say something?
yeah.
I'm going to shut up and stop talking now and let you do it.
Please do. Last week I gave a shout out to Shane and Luke. Met them dudes at 11 Mile a couple weekends ago. Took Ella camping out there with my dad and my stepmom. And instead of our normal like overnight camp, we went for 2 days, which was kind of cool, kind of not. It was hot, but not super hot. We were dealing with like 81, 82 when the rest of the Front Range, Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, they were all dealing with like 95, 96. So, haha, suckers. Anyway, so we were camping for all that, which was fun. The site I picked, it looked like there was a lot more space between sites. And when I got there, I was like, oh, this is very close together. I just got,
Welcome to
Tim-
campground camping, sir.
yeah, I know, right? I kind of figure this is something I have to get used to if this is like, especially if we're near
welcome.
the.
Welcome to
Um,
campground camping around anything resembling a lake or other area.
Well, I
As a
specifically picked a
bathroom.
camp.
It's going to be tight.
There's 2 things.
I specifically requested the opposite of this.
The campgrounds are spread out around 11 Mile. They're much further apart. They're around a bathroom, but they have the room. But this one's right next to the marina, so they packed all the camp spots in where they could. And I love marinas. Marinas they've always been cool to me. So camping near it, there was a playground, of course. There was bathrooms, vault toilets, really. But you could
Well,
walk
there
like
you
a
go.
quarter
You have
mile.
amenities. You have people. I
Right,
mean, it's
of
big
course.
city, small town.
It was just the outskirts spots I've camped at 11 Mile before. They're much more spread out, and I just wasn't expecting it to be that packed because I haven't paid attention every time I drive through there. But it was still fun. Ella made friends with other camp children. She went and played off in the wilderness by herself.
Camp children, like, did they live there full time?
I'm sure they did
Did they
because
feel the
they were
fish
there.
Those
when-
kids bring. Those kids go back to their camper. Their parents are like, "Who the fuck is this kid?"
You don't know.
They were there when we got there, and they were there when we left. So maybe they do live there. Who knows? So we went on a hike. The hike was really cool. We walked all the way up to the forest, the national forest border, and I didn't really feel like crossing a barbed wire fence and continuing on. So we turned around, headed back. But it was a lot of fun. She really enjoyed playing on the playground, of course. I kept trying to poke her, hey, let's go fishing, and she's like, nah. And like, we haven't caught shit in like a year and a half of fishing, so I can't really blame her, but maybe we will another time. We had really, really good steaks for that Saturday night dinner. Is just super relaxing. It was a great time. I do have a report on the awning that I mentioned. I bought that awning for basically a birthday present, more or less. 4.6 feet wide, stuck it on the side of the Prado. And when we went out and I dragged it out, parked next to the rock, it actually made a really nice, cozy little camp spot. The only stipulation is I kind of wish I'd gone for 6 feet instead of 4.6. I was trying to save some weight with 4.6, and I think it still fits this size of the vehicle. Like 6 feet would just be too big for it, but I was regretting not having that extra 1.5 feet when I kept having to move chairs out of the sun. But other than that, it was fantastic. It worked great. I got pictures of the lights pointing underneath it, so they light up the area perfectly. It's, I was excited.
man,
It worked really
4.6 is a good awning.
well. It's a
Very
perfectly
average awning.
respectable. It's not the size of
I
the
have a
awning; it's
question.
how you use it.
Would you prefer that awning that's on the Prado versus like a $100 fucking 10 by 10 gazebo?
Yeah,
it can't be.
100%.
10 foot by 10 foot.
100%.
You would?
Because, yeah, it's way easier to set up. I just pull it out, prop it down, and then tie it down, and I'm done. Those 10 by 10s, if you don't have two people, which I usually don't, they're a huge pain in the ass.
Oh,
Not to
mine's
mention
not.
they
Oh, I
take up a
forgot you're
bunch of
small.
space. I am small.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Mike
yeah.
mentioned turning around at the barbed wire fence. What's the name for barbed wire phobia?
So
It's
going
when you
back
get
to Shane
caught
and Luke, I
on the barbed
ran into
wire
those
fence.
dudes, and they were they were washing out like 20, 30 pounds of crawfish, and I was like, damn, you guys did good. They had like 4 or 5 nets in the water overnight, and that was one of the huge tips they said. Like, they're nocturnal, and we may have gone over this 2 years ago when we started this nonsense, but I don't remember. But they said they left their nets in the water overnight, and they were big nets.
Well, yeah, they're totally
had-
not. Overnight's the way to do it.
Okay, so
I only threw
Um,
them out during the daytime to basically test the waters,
oh,
and
see
then
if
I'd
they were
leave
even
them
there.
overnight if I actually wanted to catch, a 5-gallon bucket full.
Fair enough. In fact, I should actually go throw the net in Palmer Lake since I work up there now.
I
Anyway,
need to do
Did
mine.
you
I haven't
ever
gotten around to it
find
yet.
your other one?
No, it's still
oh,
in
Palmer
God,
Lake?
no, it's gone. She gone. So they were washing the crawfish, and like we talked about it before about cleaning out your crawfish before you eat them so they don't taste like dirt. Well, they have these. If you've been to Target, they have those like 15-gallon plastic bins with the rope handles, the rope carry handles.
You mean
Well,
a laundry basket?
No, yes, but with no holes in it, actually, and bigger.
All right.
So they had one of those, but it had a hose attachment, and it was called a crawfish washer. They basically put like 10 or 15 gallons of water in this thing, dump the crawfish in, hook the hose up, turn the hose on, and the hose just it sends a huge current of water and spins them all around. It's like this huge vortex of crawfish. They rinse them out for 20, 30 minutes and then throw them in a big bucket of clean water, do it all over again with the next batch. It was really, I was blown away. It was purpose built for this thing, too. So,
Well, that's cool.
Shane, Luke, thanks for showing me that. Thanks for sticking around for the entire show just to hear your shout out. So,
So wait, you really have to wash them? Like,
yes and no. So the way that I eat them, I don't think that you do have to wash them, but for a lot of people,
Wash 'em.
if you wash them,
it
you at
reminds
least
me of a meme.
you've at the very least need to let them sit in clean water for a little bit because otherwise they're just gonna have like lake
I let 'em
water and
purge.
goo in them.
So basically, you
yeah.
want to let them purge. You throw them in clean
Yeah.
water for a bit, and they will eventually vomit up all the mud that they've been eating. So you get all that mud cleaned out of their system. I just prefer
Yep.
it for, makes me feel better about what I'm eating.
It's like French fries. Like you put them in the water, let all the starch out, rinse them off.
Yeah, you get a little starch out.
Clean
Get a
water.
little starch.
French fries,
Crawfish
rice maybe, but
starch.
French fries.
Oh, if you want to make good French fries, yeah, you soak your fries in water first to get all the
Yeah.
starches out, and then
Oh,
chicken boy.
Oh,
You're
gotcha.
supposed to do the same thing with hash browns, but what I do is I put them on a towel and then I put them in between two towels, roll it up, and like wring it out really hard to get any excess water out, and then just throw it in the pan.
Yeah,
I take my shredded potatoes and I throw them in my pan of sizzling bacon grease, and then
that's
they
how he
sizzle
gets
everywhere.
that's how he has hash brown soup.
No, they sizzle up very, very nicely. I've never dried up potatoes, and I've always done it in the bacon. It's been great.
Dry out potatoes and then report back because
I will.
it will change your life.
Anyway,
Oh, I take my shredded crawfish and anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I probably don't need to buy the giant crawfish washer because I don't catch enough crawfish, but it's a really, really cool device. And since we have been crawfishing, I thought it would be fun to talk about.
No, I need to throw my traps out there. I meant to keep doing it this summer, but
It's been a busy summer. Oh, it's a 70 quart and it's $180 at Walmart. I just looked it up.
Mother, $180.
Yeah,
I think I'll stick to a bucket.
Jesus.
you may as well
Yeah.
just stick to a
Bucket
5-gallon
and a
bucket with some
hose.
salt.
No, just stick the hose in the fucking bucket and then just let it fucking
Maybe a
run water
paint
over
mixing,
the top.
maybe a paint mixer and a DeWalt drill. Like just
Like the mud
And-
mixers.
Yeah,
To be fair, for the
that's how
5
you
pounds
just-
or whatever we're catching, we don't need this thing. But
That's
these
how you
guys
just
had like
make a
30
big-
pounds.
slurry of crawfish. I mean, I can do it with my
Maybe-
mixer. Crawfish slurry.
what you do
Mm.
is you just take the crawfish and you put them all in your dishwasher. And you turn it on. You don't put any detergent in
Oh,
there.
I
You
know
pour
this
in a
is
little lemon juice, or not a little. You pour in a lot of lemon juice, and all your seasonings, and then it washes them and cooks them at the same time.
Yep, you put
This
the
this is my fish washer.
you put the steam clean function on at the end.
And then your dishwasher eternally smells like fish, and so does the rest of your house for life. You can't.
I
It's like
think-
black mold. You will never get that smell out.
If I opened the dishwasher and ate a crawdad that was out of the dishwasher, I think my wife would, 1, divorce me, and then 2, put a restraining order on me. Like, this motherfucker is psycho. He was eating crawfish out the goddamn dishwasher.
At the same time, I think
I-
Vince is onto
yes.
something. Just throw him in the top
No,
rack and let
it-
go.
It would
That's a
work.
dishwasher, okay?
It would work. It would 100% work, I think. But I cannot stand. the
I'm actually in
implications
favor of this
such
idea.
Actions.
Instead of soap, you put like little lemon dispenser, like little lemon and butter dispensary, like powder and stuff.
Yeah.
So it goes and sprays into the crawfish and just spreads it all around.
I'm gonna need a dedicated dishwasher for this one.
It's like a Florida air
No.
fryer.
You get a dishwasher and a fish washer. You're good.
Florida air fryer is definitely the show title. All
Is
right.
that because it's so humid?
Speaking of show titles, you guys are all dead tired and said you were going to quit in an hour, and it's an hour and 22 minutes. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
really
done with what I wanted to talk about. So let's.
I'm gonna line you up against the wall, and we're gonna end it. So let's see here. I gotta scroll down through the show notes and find where I was at.
Wouldn't it be great if Sam was prepared?
Page 4.
No, the problem is because I changed the show notes and added more crap to them. It's like, wait a minute, I don't remember where my old stuff was. I have checked for reviews. I have not seen any new reviews. If you want stickers, leave us a review. Send us an email to contact@lghpodcast.com. I will send you stickers. And I should probably stop threatening to send something else too. Maybe that's why we're not getting reviews.
It's entirely possible.
People are like, wait a
because
minute.
They could be worried it's a picture they don't want.
I know
If
this guy's
nobody likes
reputation.
unsolicited
We're not going to
pictures.
send any. I know this guy's reputation from other podcasts. We're not.
Sam will send you a sticker, and Dave will send you something else. It'll be fun.
That's safer.
No, I watched the off-road
of
podcast
these.
last night. I am absolutely not doing that.
Something about a bib.
Nope. Moving on.
Something about a battleship. Anyway,
And how it sunk.
You sank my battle shit.
Anyway, support the sport, take a buddy hunting, and while you're hanging out with that buddy, tell them about us. Get some trauma training. Search for Let's Go Hunt on YouTube, Instagram at Let's Go Hunt Podcast, and at Reddit at r/Let's Go Hunt Podcast, where we show you the things they don't like showing us on Instagram. Links available at lghpodcast.com. Check the show notes for info on Initiative 91, ban on cat hunting in Colorado. Thanks for listening, and let's go hunt.
it's definitely Florida air fryer.
I
I think
Yeah.
feel the
I did hear
feel the
that-
fish brain